welcome to the NACL Update. First off, a reminder that you can grab tickets for the NACL Finals, which will be live at the Riot Games Arena on August 9th. So make sure to grab one for you and maybe that special someone. By the end of this week, we will be down to 2 teams in Challengers League, and they will be competing live in the Riot Games Arena. Now, to commemorate that, we've compiled some of our team's greatest hits so far.
Now that's what I call LCS Challengers. 6 of the greatest names to hit playoffs this summer, including smash hits like Take This Team Down the Lower Road, King will guide till he can no more. Unforgettable summer bangers like Team Liquid Challengers.
Coming in first place, I seen it was a waste. Lower bracket run, ooh, ooh. Team Liquid get it done, ooh, ooh.
And don't forget,
You're the thing of me. Have you heard of something about Patreon?
the hottest season of NACL ever. Don't miss it. Order now and get That's What I Call LCS today.
All of our playoffs are being played on patch 13.14, and early on in the patch, we have noticed a few picks that are stronger than others, including one tree that you certainly don't want to hug.
And remember, kids, only you can prevent forest fires. Wait, Maokai, what are you doing here? Ah! Oh my god, Maokai is 100% win rate in playoffs with 10 bans and 5 picks. He's on a rampage. Somebody stop him! Never mind what I said before. Get some fire, grab your axes. We gotta chop down some trees. Ah!
The pressure is on for the lower bracket teams, so to check in with them, we have on-site correspondent Mazel to see how high the stakes actually are. Mazel, can you read me?
Well, Cubby, I can tell you the stakes are higher than ever.
Can you give me an estimate of how high the stakes are right now?
Well, lower bracket teams only have 1 life left, so yay high?
Any indication for how high the stakes might get?
Well, there's no end in sight.
Well, keep you posted. Until then, guys, that's been it for this episode of the NA Talent Update. Thanks to all my friends who helped out. And until next week, may your week be filled with positive gaming experiences.
Welcome back, everyone, to the LCS Challengers League. I am Mazel. I'm joined by Magical yet again, and we've got our wonderful guest, Keel, here with us, and we're going to have some fun. But before we do, we got to have some fun breaking down that game, because my goodness, evil geniuses, they might have just taken the mask of the Reaper here, Keel, and it was an incredible game number 1 from them.
Yeah, I was surprised that AD Kaisa was able to hit the whole game, and when AD Kaisa can hit, she does 1 million damage. So.
Yeah, I was really surprised by that too, but I think it was partially with how EGC were able to play a lot of those fights and really kind of, it's what I call the catch and release, right? You have the engage coming in from Fear, and they're able to catch that, keep the distance for the Kaisa perfect so that she was able to free fire the whole time, and then push back right into the face of Fear so that they really couldn't do much.
And I think for me as well, it actually came down to a lot of impact from the mid lane. Obviously, Ryoma having a heck of a time on the side lanes on the LeBlanc. But when you enable the rest of your team like that, it makes your decision-making that much easier. So particularly, I want to talk a little bit more about the style Fear brought into Game 1 and maybe lessons that can be learned or adapted to going into Game 2, Keel, because I know we were talking a little bit about it outside of the game.
Well, for one, I even thought maybe when they're behind, Poppy needs to be a little more tanky, just a tank mythic rather than the Evanchild, like supportive mythic. And then other than that, I think maybe either banning Ivern or Braum, at least one of the two. I think it gave EG a little bit too much like frontline and survivability for their carries to hit. And then even the Renekton, like he just built the standard like full tank items and he just wasn't dying fast enough. So either like more tankiness from Fear side or just a little more damage as well could go a long way in making their comp more sustainable in the like mid-late game.
Yeah, maybe adapting. Maybe we'll see the Seraphine. Maybe we'll see some mages in the bot lane. I don't know if we'll get that just yet.
I don't know.
I don't know if we'll end up seeing some of that spice. We'll see if Evil Geniuses can keep on rolling through, though. That is our post-game breakdown, though. And that means that we are having some fun now with the Rally Cry halftime show. Keel, I'm glad you're joining us for this one. Magical, you're here for the first one as well, Beatdown sitting out. But I have a fun little game called 3 Little Words. I picked out some clips from that game number 1. I'm going to bring them up frozen. You're going to have to describe what is going to happen in just 3 words. And we're going to see if the other person can kind of put together your thought process while the clips are playing. You guys sound pretty fair?
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to go to you, Keel, first. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up the first clip. It's going to be frozen. What exactly happens in this clip in 3 little words?
Ivern's there first.
All right. Go ahead and play the clip, Magical. Let's see if Ivern's there first.
You know, I know what you're talking about, because the fact that you have Armeo nearby, that's why Ryoma feels really confident playing forward in this play, because this is the first blood. This is where Ryoma was able to kill Shochi. Shochi didn't flash in time to get away from the chains, because Ryoma also made sure to keep perfect distance, so he couldn't even get away if he wanted to. And it's all because Armeo on the Ivern was there first.
Yeah, I think the clip might be frozen, but
Yes.
it was indeed Ivern there first. There was
there
a
we go.
particular call out there, the little micro transactions it felt like within it, and kind of the commit to the bit style, Keel.
And just to be
But I
clear,
think-
like Ivern already ganked prior, which is why Shochi has no
Yeah,
dash to get away.
exactly.
Is what I mean. So Shochi was forced to run to his Sejuani. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't show the entire go down, but it was an interesting moment, especially for Ryoma to try and get something back there as best as possible. But as you see, things go down. And that was our first clip. So I want to go ahead and bring up our second clip. Ivern's there first was our first. I feel like it fits pretty well.
Yeah,
now, Magical, you're going to have to find 3 little words for our next clip here and tell us exactly what you think's going down.
I'm trying to remember which play. Oh, this is the huge fight. Let's see. TP's too late.
All right, I'll count the TPs
No,
as one word.
Teleport. Teleport's too late.
Teleport too late. All right, teleport too late. Let's go ahead and play it through. Keel, do you think teleports too late is the exact moniker of this play?
I think it's reasonable. Yeah. I'm thinking about it. I think the main issue here was EG went a little too deep, kind of for no reason. I do agree, I guess, because if EG really wanted this, they should TP 2 seconds earlier. I don't think EG had to do this play at all. But if they were going to, they definitely need the TPs instantly, and then they just all go through the choke together.
Yeah.
So yeah, given how Braum was playing, I agree. It's probably just TPs too late. Yeah. Right when this hook hits, I'd like to see the TPs. Yeah.
Yeah, TP's too late. I was hoping for maybe a buckler call out there with
Nah, I did think about that initially. I was thinking about that initially, but I'm like, the play is really more defined by the fact, like Gil said.
It is.
That if
It
you're going to
is.
go for that play, you TP just 2 seconds earlier. It's I think right here is where you TP if you're going to look for this play. But the fact they don't means that, look at this. How much time is burned between when they should have TP'd to when they actually do?
Yeah. It is a decent amount of time, and especially that time is of the essence in moments like this. And I think it's something that if you're going to commit to the bit, you got to commit. I do want to go ahead and bring up to our third clip here, and I'm going to go back to Keel. We're going to see what 3 little words you have in store for us, because we started getting to some back-breaking team fights and some interesting things going down. So 3 little words for what's about to happen.
Immediately, fear is tilted. And right after losing Baron, if you go fight the dragon that's up, just 5v5, no sums, no ults, you just run right in.
Yeah.
Just no care in the world. They just really wanted this dragon. I think it's a little bit of an emotional response, or they just think the comp is they just really need the dragon, or they think it's too bad.
Yeah.
Because there's no way Minwi is happy to be running on that corner without flash.
Right.
No Gale Force, no flash, no help. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and play the clip and see if fear is indeed tilted here, Magical.
Yeah, this is accurate, because there are so many things that are going on here where you're like, okay, it looks good at first. They're getting these great plays, but you can tell that it's a little bit of the inexperience, right? The younger players on the team who are oftentimes just fight. Let's go. Even if you have someone who says no on the team, you don't always listen. Like Manui, there's no reason to step that far forward. You're an Aphelios, like you said, Gil, without Gale Force, especially, even more egregious. You should be way further behind, just hitting on whoever's the closest to you, not actually looking to chase them down.
I will say, JJ looking in the bush, was pretty good.
No, go ahead.
just him like finding the first engage was very good. Like Fear actually managed to make it a winning situation. But then yeah, they just went a little too deep. If they waited for Shochi, I think they'd actually be able to probably get a free dragon out of this.
Yeah.
Which would not be bad at all.
I think right there you just peel back.
They needed to do was turn JJ's microphone up just a little bit more. Just turn it up, make it a little bit louder than all the other ones. Let's go ahead and bring up our clip number 4, though. We're gonna go back to the other side of things. And Magical, you're gonna have to give us our 3 little words for what could potentially be a very defining fight here. We'll go ahead and play it through. It's gonna be a bit of a long one, I believe, but you know.
Can I just steal what Keel said before? Because I feel like
no, you're not allowed. You're not allowed. Be productive. All right, be productive.
I mean, the thing is, it's still accurate. That's the worst problem here. Let's see. Trying to think of more like new words.
Be positive, Magical.
EGC too strong.
EGC too strong. All right, let's go ahead and see and roll the clip. See if EGC is just too strong, Keel, and your kind of dissection of this moment. It was a bit of a long one. I wanted the entire play, and it was chaos across the red.
I didn't even see the Shochi TP from one screen across. Yeah. Just no. I mean, I think really Fear have to just try and front to back here. Like if there's ever, Minu should never be able to just be getting LeBlancs like that in the back line. And then like Fear is kind of crazy to be going for hook once their AD's dead. I think like King is just too many items at this point that, like Magical said, like when King has this items and you're not front engaging onto him and you don't have your ADC, like there's no way to win front to back.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that Fear is tilted is more accurate in this one.
This one might even apply more than the last one.
I'm sorry, but the thing is, it's one of those kind of situations where you are behind, what was it, 12k gold at this fight, and your ADC gets popped like that. You really shouldn't be looking for this fight. You really don't have that power.
It.
No,
Game's
you can go to 1-for-1. It's not
it.
terrible for Fear. If they just chill right now, it could be all right. Yeah.
It's like I think it's just they chill. They don't have to look for this fight right at this moment. It's the fact that they continue to try to force the fight, and this is something we've talked about as like a strength and weakness of Fear many times. Is that for good and bad, they will look for fights. When they should or shouldn't, they will always look for fights, and that's something that teams sometimes aren't prepared for, but sometimes it does also bite them in the butt like it does here.
Well, we'll see if they can learn from their lessons and maybe learn from their lumps, as that is our Rally Cry halftime show, and that is our 3 little words between game 1 and 2. I will say, I think Evil Geniuses have been on a tear. They've been using this momentum so well. They're playing so well into the meta, but I do expect a bounce back. I do expect Fear to wake up and find a way through draft to really enable each one of their players, because we set up from the beginning, they've got to have some strength between Perry and Shochi and have a carry threat in Manui. We'll see what happens with game number 2 on the horizon. Everyone, let's see what happens.
All right, we're going to lose you, Mazel, but we're going to bring back Beatdown as we get into game 2 here of our lower bracket finals between EGC and Cincinnati Fear, as we're getting a slide swap this time around. Fear electing to go onto the red side, which I'll be honest, I was surprised they went onto the blue side in the first place, because they have been doing a better job on the red side throughout the entirety of playoffs. And as we get to see the bans, I'm expecting very similar bans despite the fact they're on opposite sides.
One thing it might allow is a Fear 1-2 Renekton if they wanted to.
Yes.
Unless EG literally one-pick it. Which, I mean, yeah, it's
They
plausible.
They could.
It's not. There's a non-0% chance that happens. And wow. Okay, the fact that they're banning away Jack so early means that I think they will first pick the Renekton.
Maybe a Renekton Kai'Sa trade even, like they prefer the other side of it.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
entirely
but
sure.
not.
Oh, Renekton
Maokai.
banned by EG, okay.
Yeah, so Maokai now open. I wonder if Fear want to ban that themselves, or if they want to just give that over to Armeo, because I'm expecting if Maokai is open, it is going to be first pick, but it's such a strong pick right now on this patch that I think you kind of have to ban it. You can't just you can't just let that through on red.
I mean, Kai'Sa's up. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes through, honestly. Yeah, the LeBlanc ban, yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
So maybe they want to trade, give Maokai or Kai'Sa.
Yeah, because Maokai Sejuani, I'm assuming they'd like to trade, and then maybe look for Kai'Sa.
Yeah.
So therefore, Kai'Sa's the one
there it
pick.
is. Kai'Sa, imagine the Maokai is going to be picked here for Perry, maybe even get that Jace for Shochi, so that they can get that really powerful duo here in the mid jungle, especially because Kai'Sa could go to Ryoma, could go to King, expecting it more to be for King, especially as we look at the draft at the moment. But I feel like a lot of things kind of are going to be just handshakes at the moment with the Maokai, which, like I said, would have, not actually the Jace.
Yeah.
Thought it was going to be the Jace here.
I think you want to wait. I think part of being on red side is giving Shochi that counter pick since he's a pretty big part of how they play in general.
Okay.
I mean, Jace Maokai is a really strong combination, and Keel did highlight, and we talked about how Benui, the AD carries he does play when it's not mages, are things like the Aphelios and the Xayah. So you do have that safety this time around, and hopefully it will give him the ability to play out fights a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, Nocturne's not terrible into Maokai. I'm a little surprised, but I mean, you can if you get
wonder
the
if
E on him,
Nico-
it's pretty hard for Maokai to run away.
I wonder if they're setting up for the Nico, because they did this yesterday, where they early picked Nocturne, and they had Ryoma on the Nico. It was a really strong combination, and it's honestly really like, crazy to play against. So, I mean, if it's not picked here, I'm looking for Fear to just deny that one right away.
Yeah.
Rakan is also open if
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Good call,
Deny the
Keel.
Rakan.
Yeah, you
he was
kind of...
banned in game 1 by EG, or sorry, by Fear. So,
Yeah.
Smoothie's really good on this pick.
yeah. I think a Rakan or a Rel even makes sense. I wouldn't be too surprised if Fear traded.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think maybe JJ wants to grab that rel here. And then, I mean, we kind of see a lot of the shakeups here coming into this draft for both teams, where we are having some of the powerful picks like that Maokai get through, but we are also getting some good shakeups. I do like that Nocturne a bit when it's paired up with things like the Nico, so I'm expecting that Fear are going to ban that. But the Alistar here for JJ, I also really like going over for Cincinnati Fear's Keel.
Yeah, me too. I think it's one of JJ's better picks as well. Like, we always thought he was pretty good at it. And then even into just like 3 short-range champs plus the spell shield champ, like you can sort of peel the Nocturne away when he's diving in.
Yeah, exactly.
Fear has a pretty good kiting already.
Yeah, really good disengage. So far, they're not banning away the Nico, which is a little surprising to me. It's something we could see EG go for, because at this point, you have this comp that's trying to go all in with the Kaisa, Nocturne, and Rakan, and when you turn out the lights, you set up that Pop Blossom really well, and it's something Ryoma was so good on yesterday. So now, we see Jace taken away. Maybe another ban going towards Shochi mid lane is the Akshan, which, you know, we're digging a little deep.
Oh, and then the Gwen here for Philip. This is a pick that, if you think back to Philip's time on FlyQuest Challengers and FlyQuest Academy, this Gwen, especially in 2022, was one of his best champions that he really played in this top lane. That I'm with you, Beat. I really do like this.
Yeah,
Shochi's still
Gwen
got
is
the
good
oh,
anti-dive,
sorry.
right? Oh no, this is
I was
gonna say good
Shochi's
anti-dive.
still got the Zed, Tryndamere, Garen. A lot of AD mids for Shochi still available, so.
I mean, the Tryndamere sounds very exciting simply because of that ultimate against the combo that we're seeing here from EGC. A couple seconds of invulnerability, not being able to die, does sound really nice.
But I think it's a really difficult lane phase here into Nico. Exactly as we expected with Ryoma grabbing that, but then Surdy throwing down the gauntlet with this Aatrox that we saw buffed on 13-14. So he is getting something very powerful in this top lane that I feel like into the Gwen, it's more going to be the coin flip of whoever can get the edge earlier on. And I'm kind of trying to delay some time because that Zed hover, I'm wondering, it is.
It is locked.
That is locked in. All right, Keel, walk us through this comp here for Fear.
Well, everyone on EG is at least pretty squishy or susceptible to Zed ult. Like, it's hard for Nico to, like, she can build Proto Belt, but that's kind of the extent of it. The Zanya's is, like, it comes in way later. And then the rest of Fear's comp is a lot of just, like, front to back. They have ability to kite. I think everyone in Fear has a pretty good time against Nocturne, most importantly. Like, none of them are really too like, sad to be versing the Nocturne. Maybe the Gwen, because of the, you know, it's just hard to run away. But other than that, I think Fear's comp is, like, they have a better ability fighting, and then Shochi's just got his like, more comfortable pick, I think.
All right, Beat, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this comp here for EGC?
Yeah, I agree. Fear really have a good way to... They have a lot of disengage there. It's actually why I end up liking the Alistar more than the Rel for JJ this time around. And it's going to be interesting to see how these fights play out. Something really important with this Nico Nocturne combo, getting to objectives first. Even with the disengage, that's what EGC really want and need to do this game if they're going to find some of these advantages. And the Aatrox to me seems like more of a... I mean, we know Surdy and Ryoma play for side. They try to get winning matchups that scale later into the game. So this Aatrox fits that, and also, once the full burst combo for EGC is out of the picture, you still have that kind of sustained damage for someone like Surdy.
As we've loaded up on to the Rift here, Game 2. EGC claiming Game 1, our 7th seed. But seeding, like we've said before, doesn't really apply here to EGC as one of our dominant teams in the lower bracket, making the full run and looking to get into the finals, which would be only the second time ever that Evil Geniuses as either Academy or Challengers would ever be in a grand final since Evil Geniuses has joined the LCS.
Minions have spawned.
Yeah, I mean, a lot on the line there for EGC's Tier 2 team after being in this league for so many years. And for Fear, it's just trying to kind of live that 5 friends and a dream that we talk about when it comes to like things like Challenger Series way back in the day when there's promotion relegation into the LCS. And it's kind of similar where, you know, this is a group of people who, despite some of the changes, they believed in their ability. And in spring, that 5-man roster, they wanted to play together. You guys remember, they wanted to get picked up as a 5-man and decided, okay, if no one picks us up, we'll do it ourselves. And they got top 4. This time, a couple roster changes come through, but right now, Fear, top 3 already, and they are looking to go further.
Historic runs for both
I was just
teams.
gonna say, I'm just thinking about the game. I think EG has a lot of winning lanes, and even though our Mouse Champ typically wants to farm for 6, he could maybe even look for like an early invade into bot side, or just start pressuring around the level 6 timer, because I think EG's lanes just naturally win. At least the Nico should be like hard winning, until she's pretty much all in. Like that's kind of the way Fear have to play around it. Continue Magical, sorry.
No, it's okay. I wanted to hear your point. Your points are nice to hear, especially kind of looking at how these teams want to play this early game. Because I feel like both teams really do have good snowball potential. When you have both a Nocturne and a Zed on the team, you can always look towards that as being a possibility. But it's really on how we're going to see that. I think the mid jungles really team up together. Both the Maokai with the Zed, so the Maokai can kind of set up the Zed for these kills. And then you were talking about a beat, the Nico Nocturne comp.
Yeah.
That is something that has been very powerful, and I think why we've been seeing Nocturne kind of surge in the priority here for Evil Geniuses as one of the few teams that's really playing either the Nocturne or Nico still.
Yeah, they've definitely found a lot of success with it in playoffs so far, and that's why it makes sense. Talking to Ryoma, actually this morning, pretty close to match time, he had told me too how confident he feels going into Fear overall. Believes that the teams they played to get to this point were stronger, specifically, of course, citing FlyQuest, who they had just beaten yesterday to get here. So really liking their chances, and with how well they played out in game 1, man, I gotta say, that confidence is not unfounded.
No, and going up against a team like Cincinnati Fear, younger squad, who kind of rely on a lot of that confidence to make these plays, to be proactive. Even look at how they were able to take the first 2 games against the Skies and then ultimately fall to the reverse sweep. You can see how confidence can be important for both these teams, and especially for Fear when you have these kind of classic picks here for them. The Zed for Shochi. Get Philip on to this Gwen in the top lane so they can get some magic damage elsewhere, but also a champion that Philip really did dominate with last year.
A little bit risky from Perry here. I was going to say, he can actually get ran down, and he's got no... Oh, Rakan kind of has the inner tracker, yeah.
Yeah, and look at Nico too. Ryoma could easily path here. Barry has to flash over the wall. He's already taken
but he has
the
the
scuttle
grab.
so he gets that movement speed, but it's going to be the follow-up. How do you get out of this one? Tries to twist and advance, and you just don't. The follow-up giving the kill over to King for first blood.
Oh man, that's brutal. I mean, like you called it, Keel, it was a big risk to go for there, but I mean, he ends up getting punished for it.
Yeah, this is the life playing. I mean, his balling kind of had prio, but still, Rakan was close enough that he could like cut off the side of Perry's escape. So just a brutal start for Perry. Looks like he might even look for a dragon timer because he knows our Mal can't stay bot side for too long.
Yeah.
Kind of a good creative play, I think, if he wants to go for it. I don't hate it at all. Because like now our Mal basing, he's pretty pressured to go to his top camps here. And unless he can have his balling board dragon, which he can't, it's like a nice takeaway from
Philip, Surdy, the flash there from Surdy because Philip hit level 6 and had that needle work. Got a little dicey there in the top lane, but Fear, even though Perry did die, first blood picked up by EGC, they still have that priority here in the bot lane, top lane now, as Philip was able to get that flash out of Surdy. So as you kind of recall on NACL, we did see the pathing from Perry to go immediately towards that dragon. This is where I'm looking towards Armeo. He's level 5. That level 6 is the real powerhouse for Nocturne, and we were setting up the mid-jungle duo on how powerful that can be. While Shochi, I think, is going to be really difficult to gank. I think, what lane do you want to attack as that Nico Nocturne?
I was gonna say Shoji's been doing a good job laning. I think only being down 5 CS against Aerie, Scorch, Nico, Zed is pretty commendable and or just very good, yeah. I think for this side of EG, they really want to try and go to bot lane, I presume, unless they're just playing around whichever lane's flashless to make, maybe their first play is just to get a flash, and then the next ults they look to really punish. Rakan actually a higher level than Kaisa too, so he'll probably have an early level 6 for the Herald. So I'm guessing EG will just try and be fighting on neutrals for now until they can get a bigger lead with their ults, yeah.
Wow, Armeo, he's just got the timer on this Raptors. He's going to keep taking it away here from Perry, and this time there isn't really going to be a response. We
I'm
saw
really
what
hoping Perry doesn't go for another reinvade.
Surely no.
Surely no.
I hope not.
That'd be crazy.
Especially because Shochi doesn't have the TP. He kind of has this wave frozen against him by Ryomo, who's just keeping him at bay, so it will eventually push out, but it's at the timer when you don't want to go for that invade as Perry.
This is fine for Perry. Only losing 1 camp for the Dragon is like a fair trade.
Yeah.
Pretty much 1 Raptor camp for Dragon at the end of it all.
One thing I want to know is he going to hit level 6 off his Krugs? Because we're
He's
getting
got it, I think, yeah.
Yeah, we're getting really close to the Herald. You really want your level 6 as a jungler coming through there, and there it is. He is going to tick over. Yep. And I'm wondering if we see that advantage you highlighted come through with Smoothie, because he has that experience advantage over JJ. And you got to imagine we're going to see that rotation come through from one or either both supports to set up for that neutral, especially with how important it is for EG.
I like the look on top from Perry too, because Sardi's just flashless. It's kind of their main pressure point on top side.
Yeah.
For the Herald if they choose to fight it. Even though EG are probably stronger in a straight up fight, maybe if they can one-shot the Aatrox, they can still win.
I think forcing Surdy out and making him very wary on how he has to position, even look at how he's venturing out, trying to set up this Rift Herald take for the team. It is going to be a bit dicey because Perry is nearby, but they don't have that priority from mid lane. That's going to be the big problem. Looking at Shochi and how he's trying to push back against Ryoma, so EGC should be able to take this Rift Herald uncontested.
Yeah, it makes sense. You're letting it go just because Smoothie and King, they got their backs off first. You don't know where they're going necessarily, and Manui was really late to his recall. So it makes sense to just give that one up, but now there's that opportunity for Evil Geniuses. Armeo having the Eye of the Herald, he could set up that level 6 dive play that Keel was kind of alluding to earlier, and that's why you're seeing JJ hover mid at the moment here, because wherever that goes, if you're able to get a kill and get a ton of turret plates, maybe even the first one, you can really break this game wide open for EG.
Thinking about the ult on top, it's sort of doable.
That's hard.
Maybe if Gwen steps up a little bit further, yeah.
Yeah, especially because Gwen already having the Leeching Leer, Needlework up, Flash there. And with all that vision control too, even spots out that Smoothie is nearby, so he's just like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go home. I don't want to be here anymore.
I mean, respect, not getting caught out. I mean, we were talking about Philip and how he usually isn't very self-sufficient on champs that aren't renekted, but right now, I mean, he's down CS, but there's a big wave Surdy is stacking towards him, and he's been doing pretty fine in this laning phase. Has a lot of impact in the game later on as Armeo. How are you feeling about this one,
One more Raptor camp.
Stealing. Yeah, exactly.
It's brutal, yeah. This is just the price Perry has to pay after his early mess up, I think, especially with the lanes he has. I think it's just somewhat natural.
Yeah.
Surdy also kind of bluffing the Nocturne dive is kind of good. It forced Gwen off a bit. While Nocturne just gets to farm his own camps. And I'm guessing with how EG's playing the map, they're just going to wait for this Dragon timer to really look to a Herald play or really do anything else. Until then, probably going to farm for Nocturne's first item.
Right now, we do see that Philip kind of hanging back. He wants to get that recall off and really does want to get back, but he's so worried about if he does leave that is going to be the drop of the Rift Herald for Armeo top lane, which could open up the split push for Surdy and kind of go into the game plan that we were talking about at the beginning of the day. Is that we've seen a lot of the success since Surdy has joined the team with EGC, been around how they play around Surdy and kind of set him up for success. And this was even true back when he was on Team Liquid first, where the team constantly played around Surdy. And so the fact that you can tell that Philip doesn't even want to give him an inch in the top lane is really telling that Fear are worried that Surdy on this Aatrox is going to be unstoppable later.
I do think Fear really need to use the timer or two to get some deeper vision. I think that's why Philip is really struggling. Like, pretty much the entire game, he's like, I guess Nocturne could be here, you know? Like, he has to just accept that potential risk because Nico's just pushing in every wave over and over. Shoshi does actually have the wave clear from Ravenous Hydra, so maybe he can start matching Nico's push. Looks like he kind of can.
Yeah.
So maybe now it just gets easier for Fear. But that's why Surdy's been doing so well in the early game, I think, yeah.
Now, speaking of two, it's interesting to note, too, speaking of Surdy, you see this serrated Dirk. He's looking like he's going for that Eclipse, even though usually, well, we haven't seen a lot of Aatrox, but most of the time it is more of the Drain Tank, Gore Drinker type
There's even a
style.
Duskblade Aatrox build, actually, that's been coming up.
True.
It's full lethality build into, like,
Yeah.
LDR, yeah. Or, sorry, Cyrillic.
Okay.
Yeah, but it kind of fits what you talked about during the draft, though. It kind of adds to the squishiness there. Surdy will do a lot of damage, but it will be a little easier for Fear to blow him up.
Looking at
Harry
how...
also going for AP Maokai build, so yeah, just a lot of targets for EG to try to one-shot.
Oh, but look at this. This is the power that we're talking about, but Needlework comes out of Philip to try to thin the wave just a little bit so he can get that reset off, but having to burn the flash means that he is susceptible as bot lane is going to have the Rift Herald charging along. Manui trying to answer it, but it's all about this dragon setup for EGC.
Shoshi does have that first move. You can actually see him wrapping around a little bit. But Manui, I think, has lost a lot of health. I don't know if this play is actually going to really work for Fear anymore.
I don't think you can do it. I think that you have to seed this dragon. It would only be the first one of the game for EGC, so I can understand it. And with Perry still kind of showing, I think it's similar to what we saw before. We're just looking for any kind of person out of position or even a potential fight back. But now you're in a bad position here, Perry. They can easily kill you. Shochi, he just watched. What could he do to help out? In fact, he has to take the shadows. He's got flash that he has to get back towards his team. And with 2 flashes blown, a death from Perry, EGC can go right back onto the dragon.
Yeah, I don't think there's an angle there for Fear. It's tough, too. The vision was good, and you got an easy play onto Perry, who was already falling behind against Armeo, who's just been continuously invading him so far. Even though Shochi is able to match that clear now, Perry is still in a tough spot with Armeo picking up that first item. And now we're really going to start to see these Nocturne plays get a lot of value here. And keep an eye on Ryoma as well, where he's going to position in these team fights, because once that paranoia comes through, it's really easy for Nico to set up the pop blossom.
See Shochi is really fearful of getting doped there by Ryoma, but bot lane, the 2v2 actually going the way of Manui and JJ.
That is barely missed. That was almost lethal onto the smoothie there, yeah. If those feathers had gotten the root off.
Yeah.
Another
Surdy does have the Duskblade, by the way.
Yeah, there it is. He called it.
And he's doing a lot of damage. No needlework there for Philip, so got him really scared on what could have happened. And Surdy, with the World Ender, could have looked for something further, but is going to fall back. Just realize, yeah, needlework's probably back off cooldown, so it's not going to work. But it's still a lot of pressure here from EGC. Mid and top, getting this push back towards Fear, making it so they can't really play around that side of the map.
And Philip, under a lot of pressure in this top lane matchup. We have second Herald coming up too. You got to imagine that's going to be easy for Evil Geniuses to pick up. It is only 2 kills, but it's these CS leads, these turret plates, and that first Herald has gotten EG up to a 3,000 gold lead. And we talked about Armeo and Ryoma, once we got at that level 6, seeing them be able to use their cooldowns really well. And I mean, Smoothies were con, so that was never going to be anything.
No, yeah. There's never going to be a play there. But I kind of just want to bring the conversation back to Surdy as this product of Evil Geniuses. Since Evil Geniuses' prodigies, he has been with the organization for almost his entire professional career. The only time was last split where he had that stint on Team Liquid first after an unfortunate 2022 split, and then only part of this split as well. But him back in this team really has been powerful. So now look at him. But that is huge from JJ. The triple knockup on Ryoma, getting his own back onto JJ. So they can pick up the kills. It's a double for Surdy. But look at Shochi. He was able to trade back a little bit of damage into the back line. But it's going to be on Surdy with the World Ender, trying to connect onto Manui, getting the heal back onto Perry with the Darkened Blade. But it's Manui and Shochi chasing him down, so he cannot continue to clean up.
Well, that's a 3 for 2, and they stole the Rift Herald on top of it there. Really big call out there. Perry's been hitting a lot of these 50-50 smites, and so much has been gained there for the side of Fear.
I think EG just got a little cocky here, not in the best position for any of them. I'm surprised it was even close, honestly. Sturdy managed to get a couple kills at the end to make it like somewhat even, but yeah, really good for Fear. They really needed this play to come back.
Yeah, I mean, props to JJ too. That positioning you highlight, I just set up for the perfect flash pulverize, knocking off 3 people. And it's just, I mean, props to Fear. This is what we credit them for, being able to play together as 5, being that coordinated roster, and even though things were a little shaky, the start of Summer Split, they really turned it up towards the end here. And we're seeing echoes of that right now.
I think the big thing is the fact that even with JJ getting a triple knockup, in almost every other scenario, that is a clean wipe for Cincinnati Fear, that Surdy still gets a double kill in that fight.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
You still make sure that he's going to be difficult to deal with. And Ryoma tries to fight against Shochi here, getting so much damage, but that's going to be the death mark back on top of him. But with Armeo there to help out, but no paranoia, it's going to be smooth. He's trying to help out the flash away, though. Shochi getting a lot of damage onto Ryoma, but they're dying him underneath the turret, so he is not okay. But there is going to be the trade back on the other side. It's going to be the Cow getting some beef back and
Gwen
looking
is
for
scary.
Armeo.
Yeah.
The Gwen is scary, but so is Surdy. Because Surdy comes out of nowhere, scaring off the members of Fear. Who else is going to join the ring? It seems nobody else wants the Rumble.
So it ends up being the 1-for-1, but I mean, slightly favored in EG just because it's Armeo who picks up the kill where JJ gets it on the inverse. But you can see it, Fear trying to force whatever they can, and EGC getting a really nice punish onto Shochi there, who was still flashless. His flash only just ticked up now, and that gives that extra pressure here for EGC to continue pressuring this bottom side. They didn't get the second Drake, but they can continue going for this Drake stacking, as the next one is coming up very soon.
I do think it's super worth for Fear, actually. The more items Shochi gets, the more real their comp becomes. I think he really needs to be a good threat onto the carries of EG, and then, you know, even with his Aatrox build, he can die in one shot if they manage to CC him. So, it's going to be a lot about Shochi getting item breakpoints, I think. And then the rest of the team, yeah, I mean, even Gwen and Xayah too, you know, like they hard scale with the items they complete. Curious what they'll do about this dragon, because Nico's already top lane. Maybe has TP?
Should.
I think has it, yes, if they want to.
Well, look at Surdy right now. On this angle, was looking for a play, but was spotted out. Shochi and Perry, though, they have quite the angle. With the Rift Herald pop down to the bot lane, EGC has to answer back. It's still going to be the turret take, the first one of the game for Fear, but it will be the Dragon, which is more important because the trade of the top lane tier 1 is going to make it so that gold doesn't really matter.
Yeah, also, it's first brick that Fear got, so it is that little bit of extra gold. So it still sounds like Fear are trading up, especially because they're halfway to a soul now.
Hello, Philip. He's looking for Ryoma, and he can chase this one down. But now the lights have been turned off. Philip wasn't worried because he didn't know. It was all a bait. It was a bluff because bot lane is really where it was answered. And Shochi was able to get a good little juke there. But the TP coming in from Ryoma, trying to chase down Shochi. That's going to be dangerous. Crash on the other way. The flash coming in from Shochi trying to get away. And he's going for a long distance away. But it's going to be one death. Surdy going to survive, so he doesn't die. Not the trade back the Fear needed.
Man, that's tough. A really nice play there coming through. The Nocturnal got so much value there. It forced Philip to back away because he just had no information on where he actually was, and it helped set up the play on that bottom side there. So EGC get a big answer back, even though they will lose the top tier 1 turret. And look at it again. Where is Armeo? Oh, okay, so he's only briefly spotted on vision. That's not enough time for Philip to realize he just can't do this.
Shoji must have felt safe just with a W available and the amount of CDR he had, but I think it's still a little greedy to go for that bot wave.
Yeah.
Fear, just with Gwen top, like only one or the other I think can happen for Fear side.
Yeah.
And they tried to play all 3 lanes without the numbers and paid the price.
Kind of going back to what you were talking about with Philip too, I think it's one of those situations where you have to make a split-second decision when the lights are turned out. It's like, do you fall back or do you continue the fight? Do you think that you're getting jumped on by Armeo? And the fact that he has to make that immediate decision and it already started fading back, then realize that it was the bot lane play, was one of those scenarios. Exactly, it's done. And it just gives EGC a lot of power. The only kind of silver lining there for Fear is that Philip didn't move from the top lane, didn't have TP, so was able to take another turret for the team.
You know, we talked about item breakpoints before. We're seeing that second item there for King in the Lost Chapter as well. So it is the AP Xayah this time around. and this is already a big break point. Once he gets, whether it's Leandri's or Luden's, it's going to be very strong.
Probably
and we'll have
Luden's,
a lot of
right?
poke damage with the W.
I would imagine it's Luden's here, just with how squishy a lot of the members of Fear are.
Probably. You got 3 health stackers, so...
Leandri's is technically more damage unless you
Yeah.
need like the execute because of sustain or something, but they're pretty comparable, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my main thing is Minwi has his 2 items, so I think now they have a real front to back threat along with Gwen. Like the Gwen Xayah just raw DPS. If they can make a fight last more than a couple seconds, starts to really pump out damage. I don't think Fear have gotten a fair like 5v5 yet, and the one that was like sort of that, they honestly did pretty well in. So I think Fear just need to find ways to group, or they need to let Shochi just live in the side lane. I think either one would be fine.
Yeah, either way it's going to work, but at the moment, they still have to deal with some of the pressure coming in from EGC, because even though you like having Shochi, you like having Philip in these side lanes, the Zed and Gwen are going to do a great job. You're still going up against things like a Nico that can clear out the wave really efficiently. You have this Aatrox, and look how he's rumbling right now against Philip. It's difficult, even for the Gwen, to kind of deal with him at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, this is what we see them do pretty often there. Surdy, again, playing, both Surdy and Ryoma actually play for these winning sides so they can get pushed, so they can take turrets. And we saw a lot of it in that first game, them trying to take objectives from Fear, and they weren't able to trade.
Looking for this play on to JJ, out of position, looking for a little bit of damage, and that's going to be the flash over the wall, but the follow-up, Shochi in the middle, using the death mark to dodge away from the pop blossom. They're trying to pop Smoothie. They get 1 for 1 because they lost Zed, but now it's King getting away with the Feather Storm. Not doing enough for Manui. It did dodge away from a lot of damage, but it's going to be a 1 for 1 trade.
Dude, JJ playing his life so well there, holding that ult to the last moment, holding that flash until Perry's ultimate came over the wall there. Even made use of the locket, which we don't really often see supports build. That extra bit of shielding is actually a really important thing to note, just because of all this upfront damage that EGC are playing with there. So it ends up being a 1 for 1, and it's like you said, Keel. EGC, they want to force these unfair fights, these not legit 5v5s, and that's what's been working for them so far. So any way Fear can actually get that fight is really important.
Armeo's got the Augur and Nocturne build with the Shojin too. I kind of like it. It kind of lets you, like, if you just stay on top of them, you can just Q.
True.
And just with a lethal tempo ramping, it's a lot of attack speed, yeah. Just sustain damage. Minwi even tried to flash in last fight, which I'm guessing EG are aware of, so it's kind of hard for Minwi to fight now, at least until he has his ult.
Yeah, he's gotta be careful.
Really careful not to die here.
Yeah, he's stepping out without the flash, without the Feather Storm either. That's gonna be the cleanse, but the damage from Surdy just eviscerates Fear.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big catch out there. You gotta respect, no flash, no ult to Xayah. You can't approach this wave when Nocturne is on the map. So they get punished, EGC, they make the call, and it's gonna be an easy Baron take. Sure, Fear get the Dragon, which is their mountain sole point, but again, EGC consistently make this trade over and over again because so much gold and sieging power comes with this.
Yeah, and EG still have all their sums too. It seems like they definitely prefer to just play with the tempo, with the Baron, and just hard force on the side lane. And Xayah won't have sums for it, so I don't necessarily hate it. Yeah, Fear will not have great tempo. They don't have any good side push.
Yeah. I think it's all good plays here for EGC with the Turo Baron buff, but Philip trying to 1v1 Ryoma, but with the stopwatch there and the TP from Surdy, and guess who else? Here. It's Armeo to make sure that play goes even worse for Fear.
Oh man, and this one is tough there. Again, every time they try and make a play to side, EGC, they always have a teleport ready.
Shoji's got the demolish on the Zed, alright, I like it.
I didn't even notice that before,
Yeah.
So
must have second win demolish, I guess, so. Alright, not bad. I guess he really does want to play to the side lanes.
You know, that is going to be the thing here for Fear, is while, yes, a lot of things are going kind of sideways for them, they have these side lanes they can still play through. The bigger problem is that EGC are perfect on utilizing their pressure to constantly put pressure back onto these side lanes so that Shochi, even with the flash away, could not escape.
Yeah, I mean, that's again Shochi overstaying inside there. You can just see it, EG. We credit them a lot for this patient style that they have brought on since Surdy joined, since Armeo came down from LCS, and we've just seen so many examples of it this game. The fact that they only contest waves where they know they can fight, and they are ready to punish at the drop of a hat whenever Fear overstep. And it's just that much easier with the Nocturne. And now it was a 2k gold lead they have tripled that as they are looking to knock down more structures here. This tier 2 surely next on the chopping block.
There's enough minions here, should fall. And Surdy, mid lane, gonna put a lot of pressure on a Manui. Just one Q there did that much damage to Manui.
Okay, Fear managed to get all 5 people alive at the same time on the bright side. And they just really have to stall for the Mountain Dragon. I mean, Zaya will have sums, and then, yeah, I think Fear are just gonna inevitably have to take a fight. And as long as they can get their 5v5 started on, like, even term, even, like, footing, even terms, then they have a relatively good chance to win the fight still. EG have pretty much just been using their comp to just pick them over and over. I think that's what's really making it hard for Fear. Like even this mid wave, I think it's a little crazy if Minwi tries to push. It doesn't do much. I would be scared of Nocturne ulting him here personally, but it looks like he'll be fine.
The pings are coming out.
Yeah, just walking into that mid wave, you know, just like, I think he should just, like, you know, Baron's gone in 25, it'll be okay.
Yeah,
Just make sure you don't die again, yeah.
Is there to make sure that they're not going to look for that play on Manui. But the bigger problem is we are getting a lot of these item spikes here for EGC. 3 items for King. It is that Ludens, and look at the damage it is doing to these squishy members of Fear.
Yeah, Kaisa is for sure now a huge problem that Fear also have to deal with, that they didn't have to really until now. At least not for the poke part of her kit. I think EG now are in a position to kind of siege even, like Kaisa can kind of solo carry like the range / poke theme needed. Well, I guess Fear have pretty good wave clear now with Zed and the Zaya feathers.
Yeah, that is the nice thing with this Zed build, is that normally with Zed it's kind of like, your wave clear's all right. You have to kind of get towards them, but when you have the Ravenous Hydra, you can just clear it so quickly. So it is going to help them a bit. But you still have to deal with the fact that it is a 7,000 gold lead for EGC. The 3 items for that Kaisa, but also 3 items for Surdy. One of them being a Maw of Malmortius to survive in the side lane where he is more than likely going to be pitted up against Philip.
Yeah, you see the same for Manui, who's also reached that 3rd item. So I mean, right now, it's a really big gold deficit overall if you look at the aggregate. But if we talk about like stats, for the most part, Fear aren't actually that far behind. So I do agree with Keel in that there is that opportunity to win the fight if they go for that front-to-back 5v5. And I like this. The whole game we've been seeing Smoothie and Ryoma roam together. Philip, he has no vision, so I'm really hoping he just finishes this recall. He does not have a turret to run.
Oh, no. Philip, you're dead. You might be a Gwen on 2 items, you might have flash, and you might have a way to heal up, but there's just way too many members, and you can see that damage that comes through from EGC.
Oh man, that's brutal.
Well, he will be up in time for the dragon spawn with TP at least.
Barely, but yeah, it's true.
Barely.
I cannot stress this enough. You just have to live until Philip is alive.
Yeah.
And they have a fighting chance.
Yep. They have some vision right now. You can see Shochi is able to pick up this tier 2 as long as he can get out, which it looks like he can.
He's got an escort.
Yeah, exactly. His team is here. He's got level 16, so rank 3 on the death mark. Something to be playing for. And I'm wondering now, too. Hey, Ryoma does have teleport, but he's spending a lot of extra time pushing in this turret. And it will
I would like to see Ryoma group so they can retake, because they are giving the setup to the Maokai saplings, the Zed, like, fog.
Exactly.
Not terrible for Fear, yeah. And it is the whole sole point.
So once Philip's up, he's got a TP immediately. He's up now. Where does he want a TP to? Not going to use it just yet. Waiting it out. And it's going to be a little bit of a siege here from either side.
Maybe Gwen is thinking about flanking, I guess, if they're playing it like this, yeah.
Yeah, they do have that ward. If you look right up there at the top of the screen, right under the scoreboard, that he can TP to. But he's got to be so careful.
Also have the Maokai ult.
There's going to be the TP. Looking for the dragon, for that soul. Then he dashes back the other way. Lights have been turned off. And they jump onto Shochi, but he dashes back. There's going to be Satori.
Harry got the soul.
It's over for Fear. But the triple knockup from Ryoma. Cleaning up Fear. But they do get the kill on the other side. Look at Shochi trying to get on the king. But nobody can touch him. He's in the stopwatch. And only Philip, the one surviving member who died initially, is getting chased away by Surdy, who wants this fight. He's looking for it, but it will be Philip barely surviving.
And there it is. Again, EGC, they just keep finding the pick-offs, and they force Philip out because of the teleport angle that he went for. He wasn't part of the fight. Fear, once again, they don't get that front-to-back 5v5. And now EG, they get to collect another Baron.
We're going to take a look at this replay, and props over to Perry for making sure they get the Mountain Soul. But look at Ryoma. This is huge. The fact that he's able to get the triple knockup and onto Manui as well.
Yeah, the thing about it too is the Nico, it's a knock-up now. It's not a stun like it used to be before her update, and that makes it so you can't cleanse it away.
Nope.
Manui needed to ult that one right away. Instead, he ended up getting CC layered perfectly, and he had no cleanse for the Recon Charm. So he just gets blown up instantly. I'm sure he got no damage in that fight. And now EGC, they have the Turo Baron buff.
All right,
You just have so many carry threats at this point, I think. Like, Aatrox went untouched, and he's just one-shotting everyone.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the same could be said for, like, Kaisa, even if she went untouched. Like, yeah.
Oh,
With-
man.
Yeah, look at that damage. Just absolutely insane. Surdy doing the most. We shouldn't be too surprised by it, but how much damage these Qs are doing. Every time the Darkened Blade lands, chunking out Manui especially, like down to 50%.
That's the thing about this Blast Cannon build that Surdy has gone for. It's definitely paid off. And remember, there's a lot of stasis to play with as well for EGC. Not only do Fear have to get an overwhelming fight win, they technically have to do it twice just because of the stasis available. It's so hard for them to be playing the game right now. Keel, like, what are you doing if you're Fear? Like, you're down, you have Mountain Soul, but you're down 10k, and there's Elder in a few minutes.
They do have a couple of options. I think one is to try and really stall for the Elder, because an Elder flip can always win a game like this.
True.
And then they also just have the Mountain Soul. So really, I think they'd have to like commit to the way they've been playing. Like, okay, maybe Gwen like group with us this time. We can just like hit the front line and kite back together. Because it was hard for Gwen to play that fight because when Nocturne ulted, she had to like run away, you know?
Yeah.
In case they were going onto her. And she really wasn't able to deal damage by the time the fight mattered. So I think that's the best adaptation Fear can do at this point.
Oh, they could look for Surdy as well on the other side. They've got the root, and that's going to be the TP in
He's
with the
level
light turned
18.
out. But he is huge! How little damage
He
are you
keeps
actually
healing.
doing to him? He just keeps healing. Finally, they're able to get the kill, but Ryoma's gone golden on the other side. But Smoothie, the quickness, trying to
pretty
set
big.
up Manui. He's cutting back. He's still alive. They got him dead. And King, the only one. Ryoma is going to be careful because look at how much damage. Wait, what is going on right now? Armeo survived?
Yeah, Armeo isn't the one who ended up falling, but it is still a huge fight coming through here for the side of Fear. They managed to force the stopwatch out of Surdy, and they managed to just pick him apart. He stayed alive a lot longer than I thought he would, but at the end of the day, Fear trade up. They managed to knock down a turret in the process, and they get some breathing room, most importantly on the map. Because now...
This is huge for Fear, yeah.
Yeah, because now they have time to set up or push these waves out a little further and set up for that Elder.
I just can't believe that Armeo survived that. That's the big thing here for me, is that, one, Surdy did a lot to kind of make this fight almost go EGC's way. Eventually, he does fall. But when I look at this one, I look at Manui, and I look at how much has been used onto him to try to get this kill. But the fact that he was able to kite back and survive, I think is big.
Yeah, for sure.
Manui lives just because of the Mountain Soul in the mall. Wow.
True. So it ends up coming in clutch there. The Soul Parry managed to smite away a couple minutes ago. And Manui finishing his 4th item because of it. I think the Lord Doms is going to be pretty big, especially with Armeo. Surdy stacking up that armor a little bit with their next purchases coming through. You're seeing the chain vest. And I think Fear are about in as good a position as they can be. Because we're about a minute 20 for the Elder. And it's going to come down to that flip like you talked about, Keel.
It might even be more stressful for EG at this point. I don't even know what they have to flip. Like for EG to walk in, I think if they take a straight up front to back, they aren't even gonna win. They needed like a good engage, like a nice Recon angle, a nice like Nico flash ult. Fear have just gotten so many items at this point that if it's a front to back and they don't instantly die, I think they will actually win.
Yeah.
Looking at this now with only 55 seconds left until that Elder Dragon is up. And where it looks like it's a 7,500 gold lead right now for EGC. That Soul does kind of mitigate that at least slightly here for Fear. And I'm looking towards how they can play around these fights. It looked good that time around because only Ryoma was jumping on Manui. Armeo, I was trolling. I thought he had jumped on to Manui, but he had actually focused on Filth instead. So when I got to see that in the replay, I realized that. But that, I think, is going to be the big thing. If they can get both Ryoma and Armeo on top of Manui, things are going to get really difficult here for Cincinnati Fear.
EG going all through bottom. I think their Nico is maybe on the side, looking for a different angle. Maybe something creative, like a ward becoming a Recon or something like this. Definitely
Okay.
scary for EG here.
A little bit. They have a ward just over that rock near the Raptors camp. It's looking like Fear. They just want to go ahead and start this one and see if they want to go for the 50-50. I mean, Perry's been
30's
winning
there.
these smite fights.
They know 30. They're jumping on him. Two members trying to focus him, but Armeo, he also went there with the knock-up only onto one, but they got the pick-up onto Philip.
A lot of
Can they get the
damage.
kill onto Armeo, but he goes in the stasis. There's going to be the trade.
Oh,
Double
it's so
kill!
winning.
Triple kill! Shochi, the protagonist of the team of Cincinnati Fear, picks up the quadra kill.
And look at these spawn timers. It's almost a minute on every member of EG. They could look to push this to the end, and if not, they are breaking down inhibitors. That Elder Dragon, it should be all but theirs.
I don't think they need Elder. I think this game
think
is
they
over.
win,
They have
yeah.
a minion wave.
They got the minion wave, and there's long death timers here for EGC. Shochi
they're
on
just getting
his Zed with the quadra kill to bring back this game for the brink of annihilation for Cincinnati Fear. They will tie up the series because even though Smoothie will be spawning in 5 seconds, there's nothing left standing for EGC. It is the confidence gaming of Cincinnati Fear to get us at 1 apiece.
Wow, what a comeback. I remember Fear were on the back foot the entire game. That's the big thing. EG managed to find pick after pick. They managed to never allow 5v5s to come through, and then all it took was 2 good 5v5s. I mean, you were right, Keel. If Fear get the fights that they want, they win the game, and they managed to do it when it counted.
Yeah, it was good games there from Cincinnati Fear, and seeing how they played. So I look towards, I mean, really, I gotta just give more praise over to Shochi on that Zed. I think that was a big thing that really did help them. Like, it's always been one of those pocket picks that people have struggled to deal with, Keel. But looking at how it was in that last fight, I mean, who else but Shochi?
I think for me, this game is EG chose to ignore all those dragons. Just like convinced that, like, okay, we'll snowball, we'll play cleanly.
Yeah.
And it really came back to bite them when they made like 1 or 2 mistakes, and then the game suddenly was like in dire circumstances for them. The Mountain Soul especially is just so much power against like Nico specifically. She has to go like full magic pen, and they just had like Maul. They had Mercs on everyone, like, yeah. So I think for EG, maybe focus either on dragons with their lead, or just find ways to play out the like mid game very cleanly if they're gonna keep playing the way they are. Yeah, and then well played by Fear, just really good mental strength and nice comeback. Yeah.
Yeah, good comeback there from Cincinnati Fear to tie us up at 1 apiece. And before we toss it to a break, I do want to give a shout out to Turo, the sponsor of the LCS Challengers League. This league is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car sharing marketplace. Go over to Turo.com and get an awesome car rental for just about any occasion you want. That is Turo.com. Thanks again to them for sponsoring the league. And everyone else, we're going to toss to a break. When we come back, we'll be back with Mazel for our Rally Cry halftime show. You won't want to miss it.